Alright guys, so I finally took notes and I'm gonna do my breastfeeding video.
He needs some milk!
So I decided to breastfeed because overall I thought it was a healthy option for Jackson. I'm staying home, or when I am working he is with me, so I figured, if we could master it, it'd be super convenient, easy, don't have to worry about bottles and buying formula. Like the quote from Ali Wong's Netflix special, breast is free. I'm all about that, like, so much. So, don't mind my son playing in the background. So, in the hospital, he actually did pretty good. Like, he latched right away onto my right side. Yeah, like, he was good to go, but my left, it's like he could not get on my left side. And I worked with a lactation consultant that came in a bunch, and she was awesome. Like, she made me feel so confident in my ability to breastfeed, and worked with me at different positions of holding him. And pretty much what she said, why he wouldn't go on my left the same as my right, is because she's like, think about when you're sleeping, and you wake up with like a kind of like a crook in your neck. That's kind of what Jackson was, like, in my belly. So like turning his head the other way hurt. So I had to find a different position to feed him on my left side, because his head just did not want to turn that way. So I ended up doing the football hold, which is kind of like you just scoop him up, put his face on, and hold him. And after a lot of work, he slowly, latched on to that side. When I first got home, I had to pump that side, feed him on my right, and pump that side just to relieve it. It was miserable, guys. I remember actually even before I got home, the nurse brought in this hand pump at the hospital, and I felt like I had a rock solid boob. She was could barely get it on, and then it got so full that he couldn't latch on. It was too hard. So I had to pump it to soften it, and then try over and over again. And so that was pretty stressful. I reached out to some other moms that I knew breastfed before, and kind of was what do I do? I am so overwhelmed and I'm so exhausted, and I want to make sure this kid is getting enough that he needs, what should I do? And so they gave me some really good advice about trying different positions with him, especially on my left side. I was still struggling with that. I read about feeding them till they're relaxed. Their hands will relax, and you'll know that they're full because they've wet so many diapers and stuff. And to me, that did not make me feel better. What they're getting at the beginning when you first feed them is very watery, and then the more that they're on, the fatty milk is what comes. And I'm maybe he's just getting too much of the water. He's not staying full. I thought that was a huge issue because my letdown was super heavy, and he would choke on it. And I was maybe it was just hard to feed him laying down. So I even actually tried feeding him laying in bed, so maybe it'd drip out his face. I tried everything with this kid, and it hurts to breastfeed. No one tells you about my letdown was super powerful, and my boobs hurt, you guys. It felt pins and needles coming out. And then in the beginning, while you're breastfeeding, you're also cramping, so your uterus starts to shrink back down. And these are things I had no idea about. People I'm kind of the first in my friend group to have a kid. I have no idea that happens. So I'm over here with pins and needle feeling in my boob. I'm cramping so bad and trying to get this kid to latch. It was so overwhelming. It's so stressful. I remember just sitting up at 3 o'clock in the morning crying. There's no way. This how do people do this? I just don't understand. Oh my goodness. Okay, so then I remember I went to a breastfeeding class through the hospital, and I was hey, I fed a lot of babies bottles, you burp them halfway through. Do you have to do that for a breastfed baby? And the girl was no. Lies, okay? They still can get air, especially when they're first learning how to latch. nurse one side, burp him, switch the other side. Because then Jackson would like spit up all the time. And I was like nervous that he wasn't containing enough, or like maybe he was allergic to something I was eating. So, and then he had like a huge rash on his bottom for almost the first month. And some people are like, oh, that kind of looked like the rash when I was breastfeeding, and they ended up being allergic to dairy. And I'm like, okay, so I'm feeding my kid. I don't know if he's getting enough. He has this rash. He's spitting up all the time. Maybe I can't. You know, like, maybe this isn't working out. He kind of stayed the same weight. He ended up getting up to his weight, so I know he wasn't, like, losing weight or anything. But it was just very hard for me not knowing how much he got from me, and if, like, he was really going to be able to continue eating and grow, like, actually, you know, stay nourished. So, I feel like it took until he was almost between 2 and 3 months old, almost 3 months old, that I felt like confident in feeding him. Like, I felt like he was getting enough. We mastered, like, the latching for both sides. He was good to go. He stayed on well enough that he would eat. Like, I would burp him, and he still spit up. But, you know, they're like, he's gaining weight, so it's okay. You know, some babies just spit up. So that was reassuring, like, when I went to his, like, 2-month appointment, that he was doing good. Really, after that, we haven't had any issues. Like, he's a champ, latches on, probably more than I want him to some days. Honestly, now that he's, like, eating foods, he doesn't nurse that often, and he does it sometimes more of a comfort thing at night, which I think is another reason I think breastfeeding is awesome. Like, when we've traveled home, it's his comfort thing. Like, he'll nurse, he can fall asleep. When I actually traveled home on the plane for his ears, I just nursed him. You know, like us chewing on gum and stuff, our ears popping. I nursed him and he fell asleep and slept the whole flight, both there and back. It was seriously the easiest thing. I wore, like, one of my nursing sweaters, kind of like turn sideways, because the covers didn't work for me. I tried, and they're pretty hard to work with, and I feel like they just bring more attention to you. Like, if I can just slowly, like, pull my shirt up, put him on. Some people have thought I was, like, rocking my baby, and I was feeding him in public. Like, I feel like the covers, like, if that makes you feel confident and makes you, like, you know, able to feed in public without feeling embarrassed, awesome. Me, I hated it, and I felt like everyone was looking at me because they knew what I was doing. When I lift my shirt up and hold my kid on there, now that he just, like, latches on, they don't know what I'm doing. So, another reason that I love that I can breastfeed is different times with him, like growth spurts. Your body starts producing more. It knows what your baby needs. Like, I don't have to worry about measuring that out and, like, giving him more in bottles, like a formula. Or even if I pumped, like, does he need more than what I just offered? So that's really cool that your body just does that. Also, it knows when they're, like, fighting a cold or any kind of infection. Like, your body changes for them. It produces the antibodies that your baby needs to, like, fight off whatever, you know, cold, flu, whatever it is. So I think that's pretty amazing. Like, your milk changes for what your baby's needs are. Like, how awesome is that? So, I guess overall, we're still on this breastfeeding journey. I've had a few people ask me, like, oh, you're still breastfeeding? Like, yeah, my kid's not 1 yet. I'm going to feed him, probably start weaning him after 1. You know, I think that's pretty normal. It's what you do with bottles. I don't see it being any different. He's getting what he needs from me, and then now he's trying every food possible now. Like, he eats pretty much anything I eat, I can offer him now. So, but I'm sure weaning him will be a real task because it is also a comfort thing, but so are bottles and so are passies. Like, I don't see it being any different. So overall, I cried a lot. Just gonna say that for the new moms. I cried a lot. Nights were hard. He has fought bottles on and off this entire time. I have 3 bags of frozen milk because I just like stopped pumping because he just wouldn't take it. There's so many people that give up and they quit, and it is hard. So like, don't feel like ashamed if you quit. It's so hard. And I'm luckily enough, like, he latched on well. That was never an issue with us. My production was just fine. That was never an issue. I know some people after a while, they just can't produce enough. So overall, there's so many resources out there. There's so many people out there that have done it or can give you advice. Like, if you're going through a hard time, just like reach out. Like, I reached out to those 2 moms that I knew and was like, hey, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I don't know if he's, getting all he needs. I'm not really sure. And then there's the professionals. Like, I could have made an appointment with the lactation consultant at the hospital I delivered him at. Like, that's huge. Like, use those resources if you really want to breastfeed and continue breastfeeding, because there's so many times during this like experience that you're gonna doubt yourself, that you're not gonna feel confident, that you're just really gonna want to give up and be like, hey, I don't want to be the one getting up in the middle of the night every single time in nursing. Or where your nipples are honestly bleeding and you have to hold yourself in the shower because you want nothing touching it. I couldn't even like wear like a sweatshirt with no bra. My boobs were so raw. Like, that is normal, guys. Like, and then they figure it out and they latch on, and I don't ever have issues like that anymore. Like, those things pass. Like, you learn and your baby learns. Like, they don't know how to do this. It's a huge learning process for everyone. And like, I hope you can stick it out, and if not, like, feed your baby. Like, feed your baby whatever you need to feed them. If you decide to exclusively pump and give them breast milk, great. If you decide formula, great. Like, let them eat. Like, it's not the end of the world. Whatever way you choose, like, fed is best. I do think breasts, like, it's proven, like, it's what, as long as you yourself are eating a healthy diet, then yes, you're giving them all the nutrients like they need. But if you can't do that, you have to take care of yourself in the long run. Like, they need a healthy, happy mom, and if breastfeeding isn't making you happy, isn't having you be healthy, like, because it's hard, then don't do it. I know people who struggle and, are on different medicines. Like, they can't. Like, postpartum is huge. Like, and you can't, if you have to deal with that and take meds and, like, you can't breastfeed, and that's fine. Like, your baby needs you to be healthy and happy at the end of the day. Like, so I guess that's my video on breastfeeding. It's hard, and I still hate it sometimes, honestly, because it takes up so much of my day. And he wants me a lot, and now he's like older and eats food, and he wants my husband now, and it's awesome. But at the end of the day, nursing is also a comfort. So he wants me when he gets hurt or he's teething. Like, he'll like want to nurse all the time. Like, what's another positive, I guess? Like, helps with all those things. But know that you're not alone. All of us moms are up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning crying, trying to get our kids to latch on and hoping that they're getting all that they need. And if it works out for you, great. And if it doesn't, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. So I hope this helped you guys, because talking with other moms, it really helped me, and I think it helped them realize, like, this is normal. All of it's normal. You don't have to sit in your bedroom crying, trying to feed your kid, feeling ashamed, because guess what? We've all gone through it. So Have a good day.